So, welcome to LiberalViewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup. Thanks for joining me. I got about 20 clips on several different topics for what should be a good show tonight. This is my weekly broadcast of the best clips from the Sunday morning news analysis shows from the corporate media here in the United States, along with a little political comedy and my commentary between the clips. And then with all of you attending the broadcast live, I'll get to the comment section and hopefully get a little live discussion going at the end. And as always, I'll be using clips from the Sunday morning news shows on the regular Big Five outlets of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox News. And I'll also use some quasi-news clips from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher. I was a little rushed preparing the show today because I started my morning with this nasty message here from YouTube saying that my ability to live stream shows like this one had been revoked. So if the show terminates suddenly, that may be why, but I'm still doing my best here to bring you clips tonight about a bunch of different topics: NSA spying, immigration, Obamacare. But first, I want to start with some focus on Russia now that the Olympics have started in Sochi this week. I'm going to start with humorous PJ O'Rourke on Friday night's Real Time with Bill Maher, commenting on some of the anti-gay controversy in Russia with this observation.
Don't you think Putin is going to come out of the closet?
That's a really good question because he is always riding around without his shirt on. He's like wrestling bears. I mean,
Fabulous.
yeah, he's
Fabulous.
He's fabulous.
When was the last time there was a world leader who went around shirtless this much?
Right.
You know, it's sending a message, and I don't think the message is, look at me, I'm just like Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I like the Mahatma Gandhi punchline there. Going from the somewhat ridiculous there to the somewhat sublime, I also have a clip of Republican Congressman Peter King also commenting on Russia and Sochi and how much Russia's been cooperating with U.S. security on security arrangements, answering a question from Bob Schieffer on CBS's Face the Nation over in this clip.
Are the Russians cooperating any better than they were in the beginning with our people?
Somewhat better, but still not at the same level as the Chinese, the British, or the Greeks. They are still reluctant to give intelligence that they feel would allow us to determine their sources and methods. And also there's still a certain amount of pride, I believe, that they feel they can handle a lot of this on their own. But there's been some more sharing than there had been. Still not what it should be. But like as we saw last week with the the toothpaste. There was some sharing there, and again, it's so far so good. But again, I have real concerns because the Russians themselves, like the Russian police and the military, there is a lot of corruption there. That's what led to some of the previous attacks, and they have more of a heavy-handed approach and are not as able to pick up nuances the way we are, the British are, the French, the Germans, that type thing.
Corruption and heavy-handedness. That sounds almost like Representative Peter King there is accusing Russia of graft and gangsterism, which of course may be true, but it also created the humorous comparison that Bill Maher used in his monologue on HBO's Real Time last Friday over in this clip.
no, it is. It's a tragedy that the world's biggest sporting event is set in a place that is ravaged by graft and gangsterism. But enough about the Super Bowl being in New Jersey this year.
I like that comparison of Chris Christie to Vladimir Putin, though I guess Chris Christie doesn't spend as much time shirtless. And, oh, speaking of Vladimir Putin's homoeroticism, I noticed CNN made an embarrassing spelling error when asking the head of the U.S. delegation to the Olympics, Janet Napolitano, about Russia's anti-gay propaganda laws over in this clip.
Law in Russia. I wonder if you've seen anything that makes you believe that gays, in particular gay athletes, are not welcome. Is there any sign of that at all?
I have not seen any such sign, but I think Our president, President Obama, has been very clear over time about the United States and our position with respect to human values and human rights and freedom of expression and tolerance and diversity. These are things we hold dear in the United States. And this is an area where we have some disagreements with Russia.
And
Now, that answer seemed pretty diplomatic, as you might expect, but I was surprised to see CNN misspelled the word propaganda in their title chyron there, especially since the show's broadcast twice on Sundays, and this clip is from the second broadcast, and I know they re-edit. They do both shows live, but that is a recorded interview that they could have re-edited, and I'm surprised no one caught that. But speaking of propaganda, Propaganda, I noticed that this talking point about Edward Snowden being a Russian spy that I showed getting support from several politicians a couple weeks back on LiberalViewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup, and that talking point is still reverberating. And I'll show, here's a Republican Congressman Peter King again. Here he's giving an uncharacteristically thoughtful assessment of the evidence against Edward Snowden being a Russian spy. In this clip.
The chairman of the committee you sit on, Mike Rogers, said on this broadcast, Face the Nation, that he believed that the Russians had helped Snowden at several points along the way. What's your take on that?
I don't think there's anything to disprove that. I think that it's still, the subject of investigation. Mike Rogers has very good sources. Again, though, that is still the subject of investigation, and it's certainly something that cannot in any way be ruled out.
That's pretty good for Peter King, I think. I mean, he didn't rule out Snowden being a Russian spy, but he didn't jump to smear him either. And Peter King is usually quick to smear in my experience, and as your experience, if you've been watching clips of Peter King over the last several months on LiberalViewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup. But you can also see the U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, refused to comment on the allegations against Edward Snowden being a Russian spy in another clip from this morning's shows. Let me see, over here.
It's been suggested on this program by lawmakers in the intelligence field that Edward Snowden is perhaps a spy for the Russians. Do you see evidence that would validate that?
Well, I can't comment on the evidence here or there in terms of those things. What I can say is we want Mr. Snowden to come home, face the charges against him, and have a court of law decide what he has and has not done.
Finally.
So I'm glad that representative of the Obama administration, the U.S. ambassador to Russia there, refused to support Republican Congressman Mike Rogers' smear against Edward Snowden, especially since Mike Rogers actually went even further this last week in a hearing with FBI Director James Comey, where Mike Rogers was trying to get Comey to say that even the journalists who work with Snowden were criminals. And in one of my favorite clips of the night, I'm going to show here CNN's Brian Stelter, from Reliable Sources, asking journalist Glenn Greenwald, who was one of the journalists who worked with Snowden, to respond to what Mike Rogers said this last week. And you can see that great clip right here.
And I want to bring that up because there's been claims in recent days from some government officials that they might hold you accountable and might try to prosecute you in some way. Let's play the exchange between the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Rogers, and the FBI Director, James Comey, from earlier this week.
There have been discussions about selling of access to this material to both newspaper outlets and other places. Mr. Comey, to the best of your knowledge, is fencing stolen material, is that a crime?
Yes, it is.
And would be selling the access of classified material that is stolen from the United States government, would that be a crime?
It would be. It's an issue that can be complicated if it involves a news gathering, a news promulgation function, but in general, fencing or selling stolen property is a crime.
Glenn, your blood must boil when you hear that. What was your reaction to that? What do you think they're trying to do by saying those kind of things?
Extraordinary aspects to that attempt by Mike Rogers to suggest that journalists such as myself are engaged in criminal conduct or selling documents and the like. The first is that he's not only lying, and he is lying, but he not only is lying, but he knows that he's lying. This is what Mike Rogers is notorious for in Washington, is literally just making things up and smearing political opponents and journalists he doesn't like. He recently did it when he said that there was indications that Edward Snowden was working with Russian intelligence, and every major newspaper in the country said not only is there no evidence of that, but that investigators have said it's not the case, that he acted alone. But I defy Mike Rogers, if he wants to make that accusation, to come forward and present actual evidence that any journalist has sold documents or stolen material or engaged in any kind of criminality. He has no evidence. He's just making things up. But the second extraordinary aspect of it is that what he's talking about, that process has always in the United States been called journalism, where you go to media organizations when you have something to report, you get paid for your reporting, and then you report it what the public should know. What this is nothing less than an attempt to criminalize journalism, like all petty tyrants try to do when reporters and other journalists expose that which they want to hide. And I don't think anybody should mistake what this is really about.
And yet
Yeah, I love that clip. That's pretty much my favorite clip of the night. I couldn't agree more with what Glenn Greenwald said there about pretty much everything. And I was glad to see that he was back on the air this week to sort of refute those charges and point out how bogus and dishonest they are. And by the way, the reason he was on Reliable Sources is he's about to start this new website, and I don't know I'm sure it'll be easy to find, but he's going to start breaking news stories in this new journalistic venture that's hopefully going to get some more advocacy journalism, the kind of journalism that he practices. And he talked a little bit about that also with Brian Stelter. Is it Stelter? Stelter on CNN's Reliable Sources. Is that right? It's Brian Stelter on CNN's Reliable Sources over in this clip.
Well, I can't really talk about the stories until they're published, including their bases, but I would say just in general that before the Snowden reporting began, one of the recognitions, I think, on the part of the American media was that the Obama administration has been particularly aggressive, some have said, and I would agree, vindictive, in going after sources and even journalists themselves. James Goodall, the former New York Times general counsel, said that President Obama is more hostile to basic press freedoms than any president since Richard Nixon. And so I think one of the things that sources need to know is that if they do come forward, they're going to be defended and protected, and also that whatever they come forward to reveal is going to be aggressively reported by media outlets and by journalists, even if the government doesn't like it. And I think journalists know that about us, and I think that some will be willing to work with us.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to this new journalistic website or venture from Glenn Greenwald. And I actually reported on the details of it a few weeks back when it was first announced, and now I can't even remember the exact details, but that's something I'll be looking for this week, and I'm sure a lot of my viewers will be interested in that. And I was glad to see Glenn Greenwald on CNN's Reliable Sources and like most of the clips I show, if you look down in the video description, you can find a link to CNN's Reliable Sources, and that CNN's Reliable Sources doesn't show the entire program on their website, but there is, I noticed, a link to the entire Glenn Greenwald interview, so check that out. And there are links to just about all the sources of the clips, except for HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, where, since I guess that's pay TV, they don't really give you access to the video that I'm showing you, but I'm going to show you a couple more clips near the end from Real Time with Bill Maher. But I want to show clips on a couple other topics. First, immigration. I showed a couple clips last week about how it seemed like there might be a breakthrough on immigration, that there was sort of a difference between the Democrats and the White House on one hand wanting this long, arduous path to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States, and then the Republicans came out of this retreat that they had with some draft principles that saying that the the dreamers, the people under 18 or who are brought as kids to the United States through no fault of their own, who are sometimes called dreamers, they would be given a pathway to citizenship, but then the adults, they would just be given legal status and not necessarily any special pathway to citizenship. And it seemed like the Republicans were going to go along with that, and there might be some sort of compromise. But then this last week, John Boehner came out and said, never mind, it looks like there's not going to be a compromise. And the excuse they gave is because, well, we can't trust President Obama to enforce the law. And I want to show you first a clip where ABC's Jonathan Karl on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and Jonathan Karl, I believe, Martha Raddatz was the host because George Stephanopoulos was off. But Jonathan Karl is an ABC reporter, and he asked Representative Tom Cole, a Republican, to respond to charges that Republicans were giving a lame excuse for why they are no longer going to compromise on immigration reform over in this clip.
A lot of division on the issue.
But can we acknowledge that this excuse that the speaker used, that it's the president and, Republicans can't trust him, can we acknowledge that that was a pretty lame excuse? This was really about... this was about opposition within the Republican conference.
Look, I was at the conference where this was discussed, and I will tell you there is a great deal of skepticism and concern. The president changed on immigration before. He said something he wanted to do was unconstitutional. A year later, he did it. We've seen him change the Health Care Act repeatedly in ways we think are outside the pale. So
this was nothing new in the last 2 weeks.
Now that talking point there that I've heard from a lot of different Republicans about how the president said one year that it was unconstitutional for him to basically what he's talking about is the Dreamers, that when he wanted to get the Dream Act passed, he said he couldn't do it. And then, like a year later, he actually did it by executive order, as the Republican talking point. But if you look at the whole quote of what he said when he said he couldn't do it, he said he couldn't do it permanently. And I actually made an entire video about this because this was a Fox News talking point where they actually did dishonest editing of President Obama's statement. Here you can see Fox News creates false Obama contradiction on immigration from about a year ago, and it's actually one of my more popular videos. And if you're watching this live, I put a link down in the video description that you can click on if you want to see that video, or after the broadcast is done you can check it out. And if you're watching this as a recorded video, I'll put a annotation where you can click on that. Now, the fact that this talking point is false doesn't mean that it isn't still being used, even though I debunked it a year ago, and I'm not, of course, the only person in the world to debunk it. But you can also see that talking point showing up from Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham, and this is the only pundit I'm going to show, I think. Excuse me. And this is actually an interesting clip because it kind of shows the split in the Republican Party. This is from Fox News Sunday, where Chris Wallace reads a quote from the Wall Street Journal, which of course is owned by Rupert Murdoch, his corporation that also owns Fox News. And then Laura Ingraham, the Fox News contributor, shows the other side of the Republican Party and uses this false talking point about Obama changing his mind on immigration reform. And I'll show you that clip here.
The result of doing nothing will be a de facto amnesty in which 11 million illegal immigrants will continue to work using fake documents. Mr. Obama will look for ways to grant more of them legal status using executive power, and the GOP will look even more unwelcoming to minorities. We have asked all of you to send us questions, and we got one on Twitter from someone named Nando Somoza. Why can't the GOP move towards the center a little bit? Let the Dems stay extreme. Laura, how do you answer Nando?
Well, let me talk the Wall Street Journal first, and I'll get to that. The Wall Street Journal attacked in that editorial talk radio, and it's kind of the people rising up against this and John Boehner cowering. As far as I can tell, the Wall Street Journal is on the side of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, Pat Leahy, and La Raza. Talk radio, for the most part, is on the side of, yes, heritage, probably other Tea Party type groups, most Republican senators and congressmen, and I think the lion's share of the American people. So I'm going to frame that editorial from the Wall Street Journal. I think they should put down their dog-eared copy of Fountainhead and actually live in the real world where people's wages are flatlining. The middle
Strong
ground,
message to follow, folks.
the middle ground on immigration, I think, is enforcement. Right now, we're not really enforcing our laws uniformly. The president, as John Boehner just realized, apparently, is not trustworthy. He has a deferred action for 1.5 million people who are here illegally, just basically changing law with the stroke of a pen and allowing people to work here and stay here who are legally present. If you want to know why people don't have much trust in the rule of law today, applying evenly, is because of things like that. And apparently, the Republicans don't have a problem with it.
Let me just say this.
So, of course, you can see that Laura Ingraham used that false talking point there about Obama changing his mind there. And you can see me debunk that in my old video. I'm a little bit worried because while that was playing, I noticed I got this warning message on my control room. Here's the... You can see I got warning, your stream will be terminated if you continue broadcasting content that you are not authorized to use. And so, like I said, if this broadcast terminates, you'll know why, or that may be the reason why. I'm engaging in fair use, and hopefully I'll find out at some point what the supposed culprit is and my content ID match, whatever. I don't know. It could be any clip. It's hard to say. It could be the HBO Real Time with Bill Maher clips. I don't know. But getting back to the issue that I'm trying to broadcast on the whole immigration reform issue, I just showed a couple of Republicans there with the false talking point that I'm commenting on and using fair use clips. And they're saying that Obama can't, the reason they won't compromise and come to some, comprehensive immigration reform or some deal where that comes to some kind of legal status for the undocumented immigrants is because they can't trust Obama. And that not only came from Laura Ingraham, one of the more extreme Republicans. I also want to show this clip from Kelly Ayotte, who's one of the most centrist of all the Republicans. And she basically says that the Republicans have to deal with immigration reform. This is from CBS's Face the Nation. But then she also goes to this whole we can't trust Obama talking point. And I'll show you that clip here.
Well, I hope, Bob, that we will take this issue up because this is an issue of national security and an issue for our economy. And I think for Republicans, there are many ideas that we have that Hispanic voters on the economic front, certainly on values that we share with them. So I think we need to solve it. And here's the deal. The status quo is totally unacceptable, both on the illegal immigration front and legal immigration with regard to our economy. That said, there is a big trust deficit right now, which you can understand. I mean, when you do big things poorly, like this administration has done with Obamacare, you can understand with a complex issue like immigration reform that there's a lot of lack of trust among House Republicans and other Republicans.
Well, so yeah, you can see even there, one of the most moderate of the Republicans in the Senate, Kelly Ayotte, is also trying to pass off this Republican talking point about there being a trust deficit with President Obama. They can't do comprehensive immigration reform because they can't trust Obama to enforce the law. And having shown that, I want to show some Democrats responding to that. First, I want to show Senator Dick Durbin basically saying that whole talking point is bogus. This is also from CBS's Face the Nation over in this clip.
Well, Bob, today the excuse is a State of the Union address, but when it comes to their opposition to the president, any excuse will do. Look at the immigration issue. The president stepped back and said, I'm not going to involve myself. I'm not going to chide or push the House Republicans. I want them to come to the agreement to support the bipartisan Senate immigration reform bill. And we were teased over and over again. The Tea Party tease kept coming out of the House. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we won't. And then last Friday, as you mentioned, they decided, Speaker Boehner said, we're not going to go forward on this because we just don't trust President Obama. Let me tell you, any excuse will do. The bottom line is this. We have a strong, bipartisan, fair, and balanced bill that came out of the United States Senate. It was sent over to the House of Representatives. If they made a good faith effort, we can find an agreement on this important issue.
Yeah, so I think that is a much better argument than this bogus Republican talking point. If I can give my fair use commentary, or the commentary that makes these clips fair use, I definitely agree with Dick Durbin and disagree with what I showed Tom Cole. And then actually you want to see the Democratic congressman who was also on This Week with George Stephanopoulos on ABC, who responded to what the Republican Tom Cole said and basically also said that it's bogus, this Republican talking point and all. This is Democratic Congressman Keith Ellison. He may be the only Muslim in Congress. I'm pretty sure he is the only Muslim in Congress. And I'll show you that clip here.
The president has led a government that's been deporting people 1,100 a day. I mean, there's no doubt the president was told if he works on the border, the Republican caucus will work with him on passing a bill. He's done his part. They've failed to do their part, and it's obvious the speaker got a lot of pushback from somebody within his caucus who he has to listen to, and so he changed course. I don't think it's political courage, and I was really disappointed.
Yeah, I think that's basically true, that the reason the Republicans are using this lame excuse about how they can't trust the president on immigration reform is they actually heard from some of their right-wing Tea Party people that we can't do immigration reform because I'm not going to show you a clip from Real Time with Bill Maher where Bill Maher actually said it's because there's some people in the Republican Party who don't like brown people. That was his analysis, but my analysis would be something like that, but more a little more nuanced, saying that it's more of a xenophobic, anti-immigrant feeling that has been in the United States for time immemorial, going back to when Irish need not apply signs were in some places in the United States, and just like every wave of immigrant gets the same sort of anti-immigrant fervor, I guess. But I want to show one more clip on that, on the whole lame excuse, is Senator Chuck Schumer was over on Meet the Press, and he also basically pointed out that this was a lame excuse, and I want to show it specifically because I've shown several clips of Chuck Schumer over the last 6 months or so on LiberalViewer Sunday live clip roundup, where he's been one of the biggest optimists, saying that because of the constituencies in the Republican Party from like various constituencies who are in favor of immigration reform, that it's actually going to happen. And now he's a little more pessimistic, and at least that it was a bad week. I think that's what he says at the beginning of this clip that I'll show you here.
Well, it's been a tough week for immigration, but all three, or many of the Republicans have said the following. Speaker Boehner, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, even Jim DeMint, they have said they want to do immigration reform, but they don't trust the president to enforce the law, particularly the enforcement parts. So there's a simple solution. Let's enact the law this year, but simply not let it actually start till 2017, after President Obama's term is over. Now, I think the rap against him that he won't enforce the law is false. He's deported more people than any other president. But you could actually have the law start in 2017 without doing much violence to it. You'd simply move the date back from December 31st, 2011 to December 31st, 2013 as to when the deadline for people who could get either legalization or citizenship, so we could go after the new people who come in later, and it would solve the problem. And make no mistake about it, David, this view that we can get this done in 2015-16 is false. You'll have the Republican presidential primaries that pull people over to the right. Tea Party maximizes. So simple. Let's say to our Republican colleagues, you don't trust Obama? Enact the law now, but put it into effect in 2017, and we can get something
I got to
real
get a quick
done for
response from Senator.
So I like that clip because Senator Chuck Schumer there is basically calling the Republicans bluff, saying, okay, if you won't pass immigration reform because you don't trust President Obama, how about we pass it, but it doesn't go into effect until 2017. But I don't think there are going to be many Republicans who are going to go for that, although I'm not showing the clip from Republican Senator Rob Portman of Ohio actually saying, well, maybe some Republicans would go for that proposal, but somehow I don't think that's going to solve the problem, because it's not really this mistrust of President Obama. It's because there's this Tea Party right-wing Laura Ingraham-like faction who just doesn't want immigration reform. They don't trust it, and they're all for border security, and they're not for a path to citizenship or even legal status for all these 11 million undocumented immigrants. I have a couple other quick topics I want to cover. One that I have several clips on is actually on the topic of Obamacare. There was this big CBO study that came out this week, and I don't have a link to that. Maybe if you're watching it as a recorded show, I'll have time to put that in. But it was misreported in a lot of the media, not just on Fox News, that this was said that Obamacare was going to kill 2.3 million jobs, and that's not really what the CBO report said. What it said is that people who are continuing to work more hours or in jobs they don't want to work in just to get health care aren't going to have to do that anymore, and so there'll be less people supplying labor. Not that there'll be fewer jobs, but there'll be fewer people working, or at least hours worked, as people cut their hours and don't do certain jobs because they don't have to be locked into the jobs for healthcare. But this was reported as loss of 2.3 million jobs. I'll show you. Here's the intro of Fox News Sunday, which of course reported it the Fox News way, the Republican talking point way, and I'll show you that clip here.
I'm Chris Wallace. More problems for Obamacare. As a nonpartisan group finds, health care reform will mean 2 million fewer jobs.
Obamacare is clearly part of the problem. Your report points out some weak spots in our economy. Low investment, high unemployment, people leaving the workforce.
When one misinterpretation gets out of the box early and goes around the world, it takes the truth an awful long time to catch up.
And it took the truth an awful long time to catch up on Fox News Sunday there, where they never really explained what the misinformation was that I just explained about how what the CBO said was that there'll be less supply of labor as people aren't locked into jobs. And I will at least give Chris Wallace a little credit, where he did kind of bring that up when he asked a question in the segment later. He was talking to Democratic Senator Ben Cardin, and he first sort of admitted that this was going to help some individuals not be locked into jobs, but then said that's not a good thing, and then sort of contradicted his own point later, as I'll show you. I'll talk about after I show you the clip here.
Choice on an individual level. If you're 63 years old, you don't qualify for Medicare, and you've been working just to keep your health insurance, choice on an individual basis makes some sense. But Senator Cardin, do we as a government want to have a policy that gives people a disincentive to work and then makes all of us taxpayers pay for that?
Well, a significant number of these people are in what we call job locked. They're in their employment solely because that's their only option to get health benefits. Now individuals have other options. This is a voluntary choice, as you pointed out, whether you want to work or not. And it shouldn't be because you're locked into a job because of health benefits. Let me also point out
but again, Senator Cardin, if I may, though, I understand if somebody doesn't want to work and they can get their health benefits, and in fact they'll get them cheaper because the subsidy rises as their income lowers, that's fine. But why do I, or you as a taxpayer, why do we have to subsidize that?
Well, in some cases, these people might have two jobs right now because of the circumstances for their health benefits. One of those jobs are no longer going to work. People do work 2 full-time jobs today in order to be able to get their health benefits. Now they don't need to work 2 full-time jobs to get their health benefits. And the point I want to raise is that these jobs will be filled. It's not going to have an impact on our economy. We have people waiting to work. So these jobs will all be filled. Our economy will move forward. The bottom line is that now everyone will have access to affordable health care. Before they didn't.
So yeah, that point about all the jobs being filled, that's an important point, and I'm not showing the next clip where Chris Wallace tried to argue with that and saying, well, but we don't have enough jobs now. But the thing is that if people, if there's a less supply of labor, that means that either the price of labor goes up, or people who don't have jobs will be able to fill in for those missing hours. If, assuming full employment, which is actually what this study does. And I want to show a clip of Senator Chuck Schumer actually making that point in a very articulate fashion in this clip from Meet the Press here.
I don't think so. Bottom line is very simple. What CBO said is that many American workers would have freedom. Now, that's a good word, freedom to do things that they couldn't do. The single mom who's raising 3 kids has to keep a job because of health care, can now spend some time raising those kids. That's a family value. The student, 27 years old, wants to finish school quickly so he can get a great job. Can't because he needs health care, is now free. And David, when we passed the 40-hour work week 100 years ago, it reduced hours, but it certainly was regarded as a step forward. And I'd say 2 other things here. Number one, CBO used 2017 full employment as the baseline. Many people, when the folks like the single mom and the student and the small businessman who wants to now start a small business and can, when those people leave their jobs in 2015, 16, 14, 15, 16, others are going to take those jobs. And finally, in 2017, if there's full employment and there's no one to take those jobs, it'll raise wages, one of our big problems. So this is a net plus, and I'd say...
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty good defense of this whole stupid Republican talking point about the CBO report saying that Obamacare is going to cost 2.3 million jobs when it's actually freeing people up from this job lock, giving people a better choice. And, one more, well, before I get to the SC Cupp contradicting herself on this, on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher from Friday, actually I want to show one more clip of newsmaker, politician, Senator Dick Durbin also did a really good defense of Obamacare in general that made me think that it may be possible by November. It called me crazy, but there may actually be some positive political effect of Obamacare by then. And I'll explain one more reason why I think that's true after I show Senator Dick Durbin make an argument about that in this clip.
Bob, let's look at the bottom line. The bottom line is this: 10 million Americans have health insurance today who would not have had it without the Affordable Care Act. 10 million. And we can also say this: it is going to reduce the deficit more than we thought it would. We are seeing a decline in the growth of the cost of health care, exactly our goal in passing this original legislation. I'm finding people as I go across Illinois who for the first time in their lives have an opportunity for affordable health insurance for their families. Now, there are many Republicans who are wishing that this fails, hoping they can find any shred of evidence against it. But we had a bad rollout. Let's concede that that point. Since then, we are gaining steam, and I think ultimately we're going to find you can't go back. You have to extend the health insurance protection to the 25, 30 million Americans who will ultimately have it, and we'll be a better nation for it.
So one of the reasons I think that Senator Dick Durbin may not be being too optimistic about all these new Americans getting health insurance under Obamacare and having positive feelings about Obamacare because of that is because my wife is actually a physician, and I've heard from her that she's getting a bunch of new patients since the beginning of the year who are telling her that they haven't been able to get health care in years, but finally because of Obamacare they can get health care. So you know, I don't know why none of those people end up on Fox News, but it seems to me that a lot of people are getting health care. You know, Dick Durbin said 10 million there. I think he's including like all these kids who get to stay on their parents' insurance till they're 26, and all the Medicaid people, and all those are actually important, but I want to show that kind of optimistic appraisal of Obamacare and how it's going to affect the elections. That may be too optimistic. I think that may even be too optimistic for me. I don't know if it's going to be an actual positive. I hope it will be. And I think because the web, I mean, there are two ways to look at it. The website rollout was so bad that it's become a joke, and that's just going to have a negative effect on all Democrats in 2014. Or you could look at it that the coverage has been so negative that eventually it's going to turn around and people are going to realize it's not as bad as the jokes and everyone's been saying, and people are going to like take a second look at it and see all the positive effects that Dick Durbin was talking about there. So I don't know, it could end up that way if you're an optimist, and I don't know, sometimes I'm an optimist. Now I want to show this one clip from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher where and I don't know, this may be the clip that gets me knocked off the air, so I'll warn you about that beforehand. But this is S.E. Cupp, who is this conservative, supposedly atheist. I made a video about that a while back from another one of her appearances on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, where I actually showed she was dishonest in a book she wrote about how Christians were under attack by the left-wing media. But what I want to show her contradicting herself here is on this whole issue of the CBO report saying that there'll be a disincentive for people to work under Obamacare because they won't be locked into jobs that they hate, or that working more hours than they want to just to get health insurance. And you can see S.E. Cupp first saying that there's never been anyone arguing that disincentives to work are a good thing. And then the whole clip is only about 60 seconds long. You'll see before the end that she actually contradicts herself, and I'll explain that at the end of the clip if I'm still on the air after I show the clip here.
No. Disincentivizing work up until 2 days ago was agreed by Democrats and Republicans to be not a great thing. The project of economists on the left and the right has always been to come up with welfare programs that disincentivize work the least. Why? Work is dignity. Work is social and economic empowerment. Work is women's lib. Work is opportunity. So this false argument that somehow disincentivizing 2 million people to work and leave the economy is now a good thing is bull. It's absolute spin.
Your work is all that. When I worked at Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips, throwing fish pieces into a vat of boiling oil, it was not dignity.
Wasn't that more dignity than no work at all?
No. I wish I could have gone to college without having to take that shitty job.
I wish everyone had the luxury of saying no to a shitty job, when in fact a lot of people, 5 million, have decided to stop looking because there aren't shitty jobs.
But Social Security.
Did you see that there? I guess I'm still on the air. I'm hoping I'm still on the air. But you see that she said, I wish people had the luxury of saying no to a shitty job. That is actually the opposite of what she said at the beginning, where no one believes that a disincentive to work is a good thing, because that is a disincentive to work, where you have the luxury of being able to say no to a job that you hate. And there are a lot of good programs that create a disincentive to work. You know, there's the 40-hour work week that decreased work. I was also thinking the Family Medical Leave Act also has people working less hours, so in a way, and without having any job consequence, so in a way that's a disincentive to work. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of S.E. Cupp, though, and I guess she's one of the co-hosts over on CNN's Crossfire, taking the conservative side. So anyway, I'm going to show those clips on this whole latest Obamacare controversy on the CBO report. I want to show Living Dangerously. I want to show one more clip from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher. They kind of covered this issue. It's sort of a more big picture issue about healthcare spending and other budget issues that I didn't see covered anywhere else in the media. It is something that Bill Maher commented on a report in Harper's Magazine. And let me just check to make sure I'm still on the air. Yes, I haven't been knocked off the air from any sort of content ID claim. So I'll try one more clip from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, talking about where the spending and the U.S. budget really goes from this Harper's Magazine article here.
You know, in America, we talk a lot about entitlements and who are the takers and who are the makers. And here's the bottom line from the current issue of Harper's. Federal yearly spending per child, $3,822. Federal yearly spending per senior, $25,455. Seniors keep asking, what kind of world are we leaving for our grandkids? Well, one where Head Start, nutrition assistance, and child welfare are being cut. These days, when Grandpa finds a quarter behind your ear, he keeps it.
I don't know, that wasn't necessarily the best joke at the end there, but the actual serious information imparted there I thought was worth sharing with you, and I've also criticized the joke at the end, so that's my criticism as a fair use commentary that allows me to use the clip without violating copyright, and hopefully I'm still on the air without, I haven't gotten another one of those we are about to terminate your broadcast messages. And I've actually shown all the clips I want to show, except to say that I'm also going to hopefully put up one of my edited produced videos that I already announced on my Facebook page. If you are one of the fans at facebook.com/LiberalViewer, you already know I'm working on a video on the whole Woody Allen molestation allegation issue. And if you're not a fan of my Facebook page, you just go to facebook.com/LiberalViewer and like that page, and you'll get not just my regular notifications about my videos, which is always good because YouTube doesn't always give those notifications to my subscribers, but I also post a bunch of other stuff that I don't make videos about, or I can't put enough stuff to make a video about, but I post just for my biggest fans. I have about like 6,000 fans over there, so check that out. And as I posted there, I'm making a video actually criticizing this MSNBC segment from last Monday. One of the worst parts of it was the commentary from what's her name, Mika Brzezinski. I guess she's one of the co-hosts along with Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe on MSNBC. And I want to show you a quick clip. She said several things that were inaccurate, and the whole segment was kind of biased because no one, I don't mind someone giving an opinion, but there was like nobody giving any kind of balancing opinion without reaching any conclusion about what happened between Dylan Farrow and Woody Allen. I thought that the MSNBC presentation just wasn't journalistically accurate or balanced, I should say. And I'll show you one quick example of a clip I'm going to be using in the edited Proust video. Hopefully it should be up by tomorrow night, latest Tuesday night, I think. And anyway, here's Mika Brzezinski giving sort of her biased assessment of Woody Allen here.
I think and by the way, did you follow the coverage when it broke about him marrying his adoptive daughter? And,
yeah.
Okay. Did he ever say, I understand that this seems terrible?
No. No.
Okay.
Never did.
Well, but then let's just not pretend that there's an issue here. There's a big problem with this guy.
I guess there's a big problem with this guy. She's kind of drawing her conclusion, and I'm not drawing any ultimate conclusion about what happened between Woody Allen and Dylan Farrow in 1992, but I do know that when Mika Brzezinski said like 3 separate times in that broadcast that Woody Allen married his adoptive daughter, that's not accurate, because Woody Allen not only never adopted Soon Yi, but he never even married Mia Farrow, so there was no marriage and there was no adoption. That doesn't mean that it's not creepy when like a 50-year-old man starts dating the 18 or 19-year-old daughter of his girlfriend. I mean, but he also did do an interview with the heart wants what it wants explanation, so it's not like he never came out and said anything about it like they claimed in that clip I just showed. But anyway, like I'm saying, I've been reading, like, there's been a new development every couple days on the whole Woody Allen, Dylan Farrow molestation allegation controversy, and every day I've been or every couple days I've been updating what I might say, and hopefully I'll have that video up for you. But I see I've been broadcasting about 52 minutes, I don't know, something like that. Like 50 minutes. And so I want to see if I can get a little live discussion going, since I'm still on the air, despite the threats I got from Content ID. I see I got like 130 people watching right now, so hopefully I can get something good going here. I'll start at the top. Let's see. Oh yeah, Gabor Cosper says Woody Allen didn't marry his adoptive daughter. I already pointed that out. So actually, let me scroll down to the beginning though and see if I can get some good on topic. Okay, guys, stay on topic, Dustin Leo once says. Oh, and Andrew Blumenthal said, your punctuality caught me off guard tonight. Well, it's because I had fewer clips, because I spent a lot of the morning dealing with this stupid copyright issue, and then I rushed through the shows. I only pretty much watched the newsmakers, didn't watch like the panel discussion between the pundits, because I normally don't take many pundit clips, although I did sort of like get that Laura Ingraham one that I noticed. But and I see several people are giving me moral support on these stupid Content ID claims and how I was like knocked off from being able to live stream. I don't know why I got the ability to live stream back, for those of you who are wondering. I did delete one of the videos that I had a Content ID claim on. It was this TED Talks video that I thought I had uploaded under a Attribution 3.0 license where I hadn't monetized it. And anyway, it's kind of a long, complicated explanation, but it wasn't my video anyway, and it was on SOPA, which is legislation that failed, so it wasn't all that relevant anymore. So it may be that I deleted one of the 6 videos I had pending Content ID claims on, and that cleared me. Or it may be because I sent an email to several email addresses I have for YouTube people, or it may be the post I did to Facebook and Twitter that got YouTube's attention, although I find it hard to believe I got the attention of any actual human being at YouTube on a Sunday. But so it's probably the deletion of the video, but I don't know what happened. And it could be that if I get one more Content ID claim that I won't be able to broadcast next week, so I'm just warning you all about that. Let me scroll up here, try to get a couple more comments, and I'm actually kind of tired, and we'll try to end a little bit early maybe. Amazed Satsuma says, hey, just noticed that LB just purchased the new book on Roger Ailes. Yeah, I talked about this on my LiberalViewer Wednesday live Q&A session last Wednesday. That's the show I do at 4:30 p.m. on the first Wednesday of the month, where I just answer any question from viewers on any topic that people post beforehand or during the broadcast. And I talked about this book here, The Loudest Voice in the Room, by Gabriel Sherman, which is this journalist who did this reporting on Fox News and especially Roger Ailes. And I showed a clip of him on Reliable Sources a couple weeks back. maybe 3 weeks back on Liberal Viewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup, and I'm hoping after I read that book to do an edited produced video where I use some clips from that interview and give my own opinion. I'll probably agree with most of what he said, although I think he may have gone a little too far in some of the things he said, but I don't really want to comment till I read the book. But I appreciate that notice from Amaze Satsuma that that's in the background there in my book display spot. Let me scroll up here. Dustin Leo once says, I wonder if Ken Ham is Tea Party. Who knows? Probably. I don't know. Cruz 2 says the NSA is not happy with LV criticizing them. Well, I won't go that far into the conspiracy theory, but I see a whole bunch of people. Oh, this must be when I posted the live broadcast warning that I was using copyrighted material. I see Libre Vision Network. Go to hell, YouTube and Google. Just for fun, Tim. This broadcast is informational to me. Yeah, I think that I definitely am engaging in fair use here. I don't think it's really fair for me not to have any way to appeal these content ID matches in a timely manner. And it's really frustrating, and it means, last week's Liberal Viewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup is not monetized. I already make less than minimum wage on these videos in terms of the hours I put into them versus the amount of money that they earn. And then last week's Liberal Viewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup, I have to wait 30 days for... that was actually Fox Sports put a claim on the O'Reilly interview clip. O'Reilly interviewing Obama in the Super Bowl pregame. That got me a content ID claim from Fox Sports Interactive. So I immediately disputed it, which means that the video is still available, although supposedly blocked in some countries. But it means I can't monetize it until Fox Sports Interactive either withdraws the claim or it expires in 30 days. And most companies just let it expire. Excuse me, I got to do a quick little Marco Rubio here. And then I will try to take one or two more quick comments and finish up before the hour. Oh, some people are saying, don't play the clip, but I'm still here. See, I was brave, I played the clip, and it worked. Let's see. Seth Campbell says, Obama is a witch, burn him, GOP motto. Yeah, that does seem to be kind of the way that people are... that whole Republican talking point on immigration, saying that the reason they can't do immigration reform is because they can't trust Obama. Yeah, that whole thing is kind of bogus. The blame Obama for everything, when I think the reasons that Republicans aren't doing immigration reform is completely independent of Obama, if you want to know the truth. Let's see, NO8549 says, who in Google YouTube legal department can you ask about their issue with your use of clips for your show? I emailed a bunch of people who I used to be able to talk to at YouTube, but I haven't gotten an answer from anyone at YouTube in years on these issues, so I don't know what I can do other than drive out to San Bruno maybe, but I don't know. Let's see, Atheist Simplicity says, hey LB, what do you think of Bosnian Uprising? Bosnian Uprising? That's not even something I know about what's going on in Ukraine. That's like news to me, so I guess I'm not as informed as I should be. No, Hand Split says, we don't like your laws. Let up in now. Mexican immigrant motto. So I guess there are some people who are not very sympathetic to the plights of illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants, depending on your point of view. Anyway, I'm glad that I had so many people here joining me for Liberal Viewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup. I still have over 120 people watching, so I really appreciate that. And sticking with me, even though I was a little bit rushed because of the copyright issues I had to deal with this morning. But I want to finish up now, and like I said, you can watch for that edited, produced video on the whole Woody Allen, Dylan Farrow molestation allegation issue, especially criticizing that MSNBC segment. That should be coming up in the next day or two. Otherwise, join me every Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, for Liberal Viewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup, as long as they don't get more content ID claims that knock my broadcast ability for live streams off the air. And for my viewers in the United States, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. For my viewers in Europe and around the world, enjoy the beginning of your week, your Monday. I hope I made it a little bit more informative for you. And I guess I'll see you all around the internet, as long as I'm still on the